Hello, and today we're going to talk about green manure. And what green manure does essentially is fix nutrients back into the soil, prevent winter soil erosion and improve soil texture. So it's a very good way of just revitalizing the area. If you can imagine, once you have planted an area up and then harvested the produce from that area, you have taken away a lot of nutrients from the ground to make that food. So we're going to be giving the soil a bit of a boost back. So we've got a few different manures. This is crimson clover, and this one says you sow it in spring and summer, and that essentially means that you're sowing it amongst your crops. This one is sow April and then dig in September. This one is sow May and dig in July. And this is the ones that I am going to be using today. This is an autumn-winter mix, and it means you sow them now, if not before now. I'm a little bit late. So you're talking September, October, November time. You want to get those on the ground and you let them overwinter, and what that means is they just sit in the ground, not really doing that much growing, but happy over the winter period. And then in the spring they'll do all their growing, and you can dig them in then right before you plant for the season. So this is what we're going to be using today, and I'm going to be using this in my garden at the bottom. Past my shed here we have my allotment area, and it's mostly cleared now, but there's still some clearing to do. This is the broccoli that is going to largely overwinter now. This section needs clearing again, as you can see, and the chard I'll be leaving in, and the beetroot. And these are the pumpkins, which have now been harvested and they need to be removed. So that's the first job I'm going to do before I lay any manure down, is I'm just going to clear the area of any crops that are no longer in use. Okay, so I've just pulled out the supports, and we were left with a lot of squash and pumpkin plant matter here. Just pull straight out, and I'm going to put that just straight into the compost. And just get it all the way down in there. And then when you have a lot of material like this as well, it's a good idea to put another piece of cardboard on top of your compost. Okay, so I've cleared my squash and pumpkin now, and I'm not going to worry too much about meticulously getting all the weeds out. I'm just going to give it a once over. So I've got the Dutch hoe. I'll show you that here. There we go, that's the Dutch hoe. And we're just going to rake that over the ground to cut the tops off everything, and to loosen up the soil, because once it's loose it's going to be ready for our green manure planting. So the way the Dutch hoe works is the same way that's what I find is the most ideal for digging in the manure when it's ready at the end. So all you're trying to do, if I can do this one-handed, you want to run it over the weed, and you can see it's just chopped the head off, and you can drag it back. Run it over, chop it back, and you can see that it just takes like the top layer of soil off as you're doing it. And I'm going to do the whole area. I've done that side already, and afterwards I'll just get the large leaf matter up. Okay, so you can see that I've cleared all the squash, the pumpkins. I have done my little back edge there, and I've also moved my broccoli away. They were getting quite lazy and taking up a lot more space than they needed to, and I wanted to make sure that my manure got as much coverage as possible. And it's hard to see on this video, but all the soil has been loosely turned by using the hoe across the whole section. So I'm now ready to begin my manure planting. So I've got my green manure packet with the seeds in there, and all I'm going to do now is just sprinkle them about and get as much coverage as possible. I'm going to use both packets as well. I know that this area hasn't been fed in many years, so I'm going to just do the whole thing. There's my second seed mix. You can see there is a mixture of seeds. And just again, just going to put it over as much as possible. So what you can do next, if you're worried, is you can just gently till the land again to give them a bit of coverage, but it's not strictly necessary at this stage. And I know the ground is already nice and wet. It is a winter planting, so I'm not worried about adding water. So there we go, all done. Just in time, as the light disappears over the hill. Job done. Let's go back inside.